So if you go on Instagram right now, I'm sure you've seen these people. They have a root in the blogging world. I mean, Studio McGee came from that world. Shay, and I love Shay. I love everything that she has put out recently. I think she could sell vomit in a bowl, and I would probably be one of those people at Target getting it because it's a lot cheaper at Target than it is through her actual studio. But people like Shay McGee, Chris Loves Julia, Young House Love, even though they're not of the same group. Ooh, I'm almost hinting at it. But they are originals. Proverbs 31 Girl is an original. The Joanna Gaines, which I'm sure you know. Arfo Farmhouse. These are all people that kind of started in that blog and then moved their way into IG. And so it goes without saying that those were probably a lot of the pioneers, and people like Angela Rose basically created the content in which you have these photos of people jumping with that power tool in hand in front of their elected home renovations. Girls, boys, I am so curious about that because I see that not just in one account, but I see it over and over and over again. And as you comb through very similar accounts, I assure you, you will see the same thing. And it's not even remotely apologetic. It's an exact identical copy to their peers. How they pose, the decor that they choose, the identical projects, even the way the stories are created. Keywords. DIY bloggers are a fascinating subset of bloggers for me. And it follows suit with those that are in fashion, mommy blogs, boho organic, wellness. There are countless of people who follow this perceived formula that these DIY bloggers have started and have maintained and have resulted in a culture with bizarre content distinctions that people likely follow or mimic others, despite it actually serving no real purpose. Okay, I am like diving deep down. I told you this was going to be a deep dive. So go ahead and check it out. But that girl boss of contract work is huge. And the underlying message is what? Empowering. And it's often rooted in this odd, I'm going to overcome this gender stereotype that only a guy can pick up a power tool. And that's really funny to me. And if you notice, there's a huge thread through this whole community of, overcome your fear of perfection, overcome your fear of power tools, pick it up and do it, create the home you wanted, all of this. It is everywhere. And the fascinating thing is that it's the same thing. And what is really creepy is that it mirrors and mimics very similar language to the MLM mantra. MLM standing for the multi-level marketing. And it mimics the language and the narrative of self-help influencers, of coaches that, let me help you get your life on track. They constantly are motivating you through some kind of, and this is where I've noticed, I hesitate to say it because it's not meant to be snark, but they are kind of shaming you. They're shaming you for not doing it yourself. And that's the problem that I have, is that they're shaming you for, why are you not, putting in your own hardwoods? Why are you not adding on addition to your house? They truly, Chris Loves Julia, oversimplify the time, the resources, the childcare, the equipment pricing, all these necessary things you have to get the results to look the same. There is something about the education. If you've never handled a power tool, maybe redoing your kitchen is not the first step. And ladies and gentlemen, I followed Angela Rose back when she was just painting cabinets in her laundry room. And now she has totally renovated the house. And let's just be honest, this thing with this category is that if you're a power tool influencer, the commission on swipe ups, no joke, off the charts. These are big ticket items, folks. And when these big ticket items are presented with recipes, with how-tos, with step-by-steps for projects, People, of course, are going to buy the exact ingredients, the exact appliances to make that happen because they want that exact result. Example, Chris Loves Julia. They were in a house prior to the house they're in now, which I'm going to talk about here in a moment. But they did a kitchen on a budget, and nothing was insane about the makeover. So it was very doable, but they linked every single power tool to it. And their kitchen was undeniable. I mean, it blew me away, but it was also noticeable that they had all these power tools that could pull that off. I do not have those power tools to pull it off. So that's my limitation. But they had all those power tools. And what's interesting is while they were doing that kitchen renovation, they really started hinting about launching a community, about doing this or the other, and they're not the only ones. There's a lot of people, a lot of influencers who are in the DIY space talk about big dreams and these nudges from God. And I don't know. It's just that there are so many people in this position, in this DIY work that they have, that then relate and say, well, God is talking to them, and God really wants them to share what it is, how they do. And I don't know about you guys, but when people think God cares about your home renovations, I'm giving side eye all over the place. I don't think God really cares about what your spindles look like, if they've been painted or if they're metal. I don't think God cares what that looks like. It's just fascinating to me that the same narrative comes up about, I've decided to be obedient and persevere, but I'm so excited to announce that's always how this narrative goes. And I think you all know where this is going. If you look at all of the Instagrams, look at the location. Salt Lake City, Utah. Insanity. These people are all discovering their passion for DIY, and they all come from the same background. Mormons. The Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I mean no disrespect. I only giggle because it does amuse me. All of those people that I spoke about, even the pioneers, were truly pioneers, all come from LDS. They all come from that community. And here's the bigger one. Almost all the original influencers come from the LDS community. And that's why the side effect of influence is so interesting to me, because I gravitate towards them. And in fact, I would joke. I even joked, I think, on either a post on my Instagram or on my blog about, look at me trying to be a mom blogger or mom Mormon, a Mormon mom, something like that. I'm going to have to look at my post now just to confirm what I said. But I find that absolutely fascinating. And if you're not sure if the DIY influencer you follow is Mormon, we can do a couple things to kind of investigate just by looking at their pictures. Maybe how young they are with how many children they have. That's usually, in the 1950s, that was Catholic. Today, that's LDS. I think the pictures of the perfect white Jesus is another one. And I think how they celebrate 4th of July, it is very showy. They showboat very much on the 4th of July. I think that is another thing that you can see. And, again, I'm not trying to call this out. I'm so careful not to needlessly target people. And I really don't care what your religious affiliation is, as long as participation is fully your choice and you're not oppressing anyone else in the process. no matter where I go, even when I'm not trying, if I look at a DIY influencer, all roads lead me back to, again, a giant portrait of Jesus, which is more ubiquitous in the Mormon blogosphere than any elaborate pot filler on the stove. Now, are they all? No, they could be extremely high Christian. Joanna Gaines is not Mormon. Proverbs 31 girl is not Mormon. Layla from the Lettered Cottage that I brought, not Mormon, but they are all significantly highly religious. I cannot not talk about that. Influence is threaded thickly in the tapestry that we're about to hang on our windows with their curtains. Just throwing that out there. Look around. I'm not making it up. So there is artwork everywhere. And I also know there are many players with so much history. And I know that there's a lot that probably I need to maybe even investigate and dive down deep, but that's why I'm sharing this with you. It all kind of ties back to that girl boss theme. It all is something that we are kind of curious about. And it goes also in terms of that MLM language. You know, some of these, like Honey Built Home, check her out. She talks about it to, you know, how she has this conversation about how I'm my own boss, how I'm providing income for my family, how I get amazing opportunities to work with these people that I like. I'm self-taught. How do we go from fun DIY projects to then major home renovations to being your own boss culture? It all comes back to what? Courses, coaches, highly approachable content marketing to women who want their lives to look as similar as these bloggers. The side effect of influence. That's what they're doing. And to me, it's just so interesting. I mean, it is truly awesome if you want to do that. If that's what you want, then do it. And like, what's the harm in sharing DIY projects if people want inspiration? All things considered, it's just fun. But my radar goes off when I see that MLM language, when I see thanking God for success, because one, the pitch is no longer the content that comprises the job, but the job itself. It kind of comes across a little predatory in its persuasion by harping on things you know your vulnerable audience want, right? MLMs don't just sell the product. They sell the dream. Make money while you sleep, you know, relax, enjoy life, live the life that you want. The other two thing that sends me off is that spiritual justification for how you fell into your job becomes a problem when you start to offer courses, when you start to be a teacher, when you start to be instructive. You can't say, if I can do it, so can you. If the reasons you can do it is inherently supernatural, over focusing on God tells me you're not clear on the alchemy of your success and you don't understand the resources and the privileges that you already have available to you. But you're selling the formula. And I do want to be clear, I'm not trying to like just totally slam on the Mormon faith. I don't. As I've told you, I have casually and devoutly paid attention to Chris Loves Julia, Young House Love, The Lettered Cottage, Emily Henderson. Oh, there's an original one. She's actually Mormon, but then she decided not to be. I just didn't really notice until I really, really did a deep down dive on, maybe my light bulb went off, that it's girl bossy and it's supernaturally divine on why they are changing everything in their home. I'm just very curious because I don't know a lot of people that redecorate their home because Jesus told them to. So that is just of sheer interest to me because it then extrapolates into courses, into buy this, buy that. I mean, it's very interesting. Okay, the next part that I find interesting is when they have to move because they run out of material. Meaning, I've done every room in my house. Now what? Our faux farmhouse was classic at that. They quote unquote said they moved because of the family, blah, blah, blah. They didn't. They ran out of things. This is what kills me. You can always tell a DIY influencer that is really harping on their links to, swipe up and shop, blah, blah, because the number one dead giveaway for me is they change out their dining room chairs multiple times, probably in the year. And that's not a bad thing, but that's just a thing to notice. Like, they will go on ad nauseum about how much they love this chair, that this is perfect, that this is that this is that. But yet, as soon as another offer comes from our house or Restoration Hardware, they will jump all over it and be done with it. And that's what bothers me. But everyone, I mean, Chris Loves Julia, that's all they do is move homes. That's all they do is move homes. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that I want you aware of it. I have moved once. I have the same dining room. Now, do I want to change a little piece here and there? Oh, sure, absolutely. But I'll tell you this, it's going to have to be with my own money. It's not money that I have elsewhere. In, I guess you would say, content or affiliations. No, I have to save the money to then do it. And I think that's what bothers me the most, is that you have these strong influencers. Again, I love Shay McGee, but it is not reasonable in a normal home to think $20,000 is okay to redo the family room. I mean, I think you're stretching if it's like $2,000, to be honest, because people have groceries they have to buy. They have stuff for the kids. It's just, I don't know, bothersome. What is it? The Netflix show that Shay McGee did, they renovated a home with a basketball court in it. Is that real life? Did that really happen? I don't even know where to begin on that. That's alarming to me. It's alarming to me that that's actually something that people think is feasible. Okay, so now that we've noticed that there are tons of design blogs, the mommy Mormon world, and of course, influenced by itself, there are definite theories about why Mormons gravitate towards this. Mormons by default are a very creative subset in a limited resource but big family situation. Mormons, because of the big family, they are the ones that have to ingeniously kind of redesign and remake their purchases. And it's not because it's cool, but because that's what they can afford. So clever DIY is second nature for Mormons. They get married so young. Shopping at the thrift store is the best way to kind of clothe themselves and the family. Now, along with that, I think it should be noted that in the Mormon faith, they do believe in journaling, that the mom should keep this journal. And that takes us to a whole new level, because blogging then became that formulation, that journal. And so taking pictures of it is just another way to document it and captivate it, and maybe give insight into how they view motherhood, which I will say this, I feel like you have a lot of talented and educated Mormon women, and motherhood is the end all be all, but maybe when they became moms, they had all these other ideas and these ambitions. And so a design and DIY is still in the home, but allows that creative energy to kind of flow. I totally get that. I think they're all somewhat related in the fact that they had to be resourceful as well as they had to document it. But I think if you go, you can see the similar undertones of all of them, that there is a route back to LDS. There is a route back to trying to figure out a way to monetize their DIY in their home. It goes without saying that that's right there. And that is a huge influence. My problem, or maybe I should say my concern, is more about, I don't think it's bad if you can't DIY. And maybe that's where this whole kind of side effect of influence is going to go, because I do not want women, or it could be men, but I do not want them to get caught up in creating that false perception of reality that I think women do really well. Whether it's on a mommy blog, a fashion blog, a DIY blog, a wellness blog. I feel like we should aim as women to connect and not compete. But man, it's hard not to notice it. Again, I go back to blogging. Blogging has been around since like 2000, like I said, and everything was about blogging and capturing that. And then it segued into, without the journalistic writing narrative, and then it just focused on basically the visuals, and that was the birth of Instagram. I just don't want people to feel that if their home isn't perfect, that you can have people over. And I think that was kind of hinted at even in the McGee & Co. design show on Netflix. They even said it. A couple was upset that their home wasn't nice enough for people to come over. Who says it was clean? There weren't toys everywhere. Heck, you'd be lucky to walk in my house. And I do like a very clean home, but I will say this. I'm not about to say that there's not a chance where if you just surprise me that there's not toys on the floor. And I just worry if sometimes we forget about connecting and not comparing. Like, when I look at our faux farmhouse, I had to actually stop following her because I got so tired of her changing out her pendant lights, changing out her chairs, changing out this artwork, changing out this bedspread, until, again, what we already said, she had to move. I couldn't stand that. In fact, some of the best bloggers that I originally follow have even come out and said, well, I'm not going to do the TikTok song and dance, or I have nothing else to change. I really like where I'm at. Like, if you want to go check out ones that I think have beautiful, who kind of keep to their aesthetic, Featherglass. She is not overtly Christian. She just takes really great pictures of her designs that she has done at home. And it's beautiful. And here's the other kicker. She shares Wildflower Home. That's another one. Marion, she shares everything, and she keeps it within a context that you can do. It's not going to be $20,000 to redo a room. And I think that's so important, because, again, it's really going to be hard not to compare yourself. And I guess that's always the case in terms of the side effect of influence, is you have to kind of keep yourself in check and know the lane that you want to be in, because it is it's so apparent if you start looking at it. If home decor is your thing, it may not be your thing. If that's the case, but for me, I can't get enough of it. And I will say this, the DIY, the home decor has really gone just from, oh, let me take a picture of all the tchotchkes on my table, to let me redo the kitchen. And that's probably where I've backed off a little, because that's time consuming. I mean, I work a full-time job. I have kids. I don't have time to invest in that. Now, if I was a stay-at-home mom, the story and the narrative might be different, but I don't have that. And I don't think that makes me bad. I shouldn't feel guilty. And I don't want other people to feel guilty too. And I think that's where it all kind of comes down to, is that I want people to love their home, but I also wish that there was more of an influence where you're not spending $8,000 on a couch. If you have kids, I mean, there's going to be either poop or vomit or snot eventually on your couch. I mean, if you have anyone come over, they could leave some sort of crusty stuff on your couch. I'm not going to drop $8,000 on a couch, regardless of the influence that you bring. And I just want to remind people of that. Make sure that you just kind of hold yourself in check of, oh, you know what? I can just hire out. I am not a bad person if I cannot figure out this power tool, or if I want. And you know what? You're not superior if you do decide to pick up the power tool and learn it. But that to me is why I kind of have this discussion. It's just because I am so fascinated. I mean, just get on Instagram and you'll see the pictures of the jumping. And I mean, you'll be able to pick them out right away. There's always like some accent wall in like deep olive and a navy, a lot of kind of angled work. There was that phase when grayish was in. And so you had kind of like the white and the gray. I do like white. Don't get me wrong. I love me some white. But I will say, just go check it out. Just go check it out and see where it's at. Because the root of it comes from the influence. All back to blogging, all back to LDS. And LDS actually has its hand in a few other things like MLMs and fashion influence. And we'll get into that. But the side effect of influence is really strong. I just want to remind everyone, it's okay not to be influenced. It is actually absolutely okay to not be influenced. If you love your home how it is and you're over the fact that like, oh, well, now I have to change out all my hardware because oil rubbed bronze is not in and gallery walls are old news, don't worry about it. If that's what you love, don't let the influence of the internet take that away from you. Enjoy your home as you've created it, not because of what a blogger, an influencer tells you should have. And then here's the other thing. Save up money and change it if you want. You don't have to learn how to put in the flooring. So I know that was a rant. I know that was long, but I truly hope that we kind of deep dive down a little bit more into influence, because influence is changing. It is changing rapidly, especially with TikTok and the surge of different voices that are now on that platform. And there's so much controversy lately on, what people are using their social media and how they are using their social media for influence. But anywho, go check out some of those Instagrams. If I've missed things, please let us know, and we will see you on the other side. So thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. Erin B. with The Side Effect, brought to you by Piff Radio. Have a great day. So that was my rambling. I had written out some of it, but I definitely wanted to do that. So I hope that helps. That's about 40 minutes, I think. I hope this goes to you.